Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of the CXO Leadership Towards Digital India, presented by Google on Moneycontrol. I'm Harshil, Karia, the founder of Schbang, an organization that constantly thinks and designs digital. And I'm so excited for this particular roundtable and this discussion today. We often get to hear across boardrooms in large, medium enterprises, and even in small enterprises today that digital is the way forward. What do you see your kids doing at home nowadays? You see most of them on YouTube checking out new videos. You're seeing actually right from the kids to the dada dadi on YouTube, and you're seeing different people searching for different kind of recipes or different kind of material that they want to buy, or if different categories have different use cases, and digital has just exploded, especially after the COVID pandemic. Digital has affected businesses of all sizes, and most businesses, whether they've been affected positively or negatively, have grown using digital. So we have a very interesting panel here today of companies who are in different spaces, and it's really exciting to get a glimpse from them about the revolution that digital marketing is bringing to the table. So we'd love to understand from these guests, these fantastic guests that we have, about the way that digital is is affecting the landscape. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the panelists. I'd like to welcome Mr. Pushpam Chaurasia, who is the director and marketing head at Growmed Life Pharma. Welcome, Pushpam. It's really good to have you on the show. Also, I'd like to welcome Mr. Parimal Kumar, founder and director at ICS Coaching Center. We'll hear a lot from him about how his business has exploded, and they've really done digital transformation across the layer, right from marketing to operations. So fantastic to hear from Parimal ji. And Ashish Jhalani, who's the president of international markets at Square Panda. Again, another very interesting edtech business. And love to hear from Ashish about how they've really accelerated a business which was really anyway very strong on digital, has accelerated post the pandemic. So fantastic to have the guests here on the show, and thank you for being here, guys. I also want to do, while we have the guests, we also have a special representative from Google India. So we've got the head of new business sales for India, and we're very fortunate to have on the particular show for the head of sales on Google India. So Ruchita, it's amazing to have you, Ruchita Aggarwal, on this show. Thank you for being here with us. And I'd like to invite our final guest, Mr. Vishal Chakrabarti, with us on the show. Mr. Bishal, welcome to the show. Vishal Chakrabarti is the regional manager at Rajasthan Knowledge Corporation Limited, RKCL. His focus areas lie in doing business analysis, business development, and promotion of e-governance programs of RKCL in the state of Rajasthan. We're really glad to have you here with us, Bishal. Welcome to the show. I'm going to jump right into it. There's a lot of questions that we've planned for this particular roundtable, and really trying to get insights from across the board. So let me start actually with the two gentlemen from EdTech, and there have been very few black swan events like COVID, and with extended lockdowns, with a change in consumer behavior. I'd love to understand, from the both of you, how COVID has really impacted your business, and it would be great to understand from you. So maybe Parimal ji, you can go first.
पहले हम लोग जो ना फिजिकली सेंटर में बच्चे हमारे पास आते थे और वो बच्चे आकर के हमारे पास पढ़ते थे, प्रिपेयर करते थे गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स के लिए। जब ये कोविड आया तो कोविड आने से एकदम से जो है एजुकेशन स्टॉप हो गई, पढ़ाई बिल्कुल बंद हो गई, सब लोग अपने घर पर पहुंच गए। अब उस केस में हम लोगों ने ऐप लॉन्च किया, आईसीएस होमवर्क ऐप। तो आईसीएस होमवर्क ऐप के ऊपर हम लोगों ने क्लासेस दी। तो अब हमारे सामने भी थोड़ा सा चैलेंज था। पहले हम लोगों ने जो है स्टूडेंट्स को ही पढ़ाया था, और अब जो है सामने जो है जैसे कैमरे के सामने पढ़ाना था, तो चैलेंज तो फेस हुआ, लेकिन जो है जो पढ़ाने का एक्सपीरियंस था हमारा वो पुराना था, काफी था। और जब सभी जो टीचर्स थे वे पुराने थे, तो हम लोगों ने इस कोविड के दौरान में अपनी पढ़ाई को नहीं रुकने दिया। उसने हमें बिजनेस दिया और स्टूडेंट्स को जॉब। और हम लोग बोलते थे कि इस टाइम पर, जिस टाइम पर ये कोविड है और चारों तरफ नेगेटिविटी है, इस टाइम पर पॉजिटिव माइंड के साथ जो प्रिपेयर कर रहा है तो वो सबसे पहले जो है सक्सेसफुल होगा, और उसका रिजल्ट अब मिल रहा है।
आशीष, लेट्स गो टू यू इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाउ दिस हैज अफेक्टेड योर बिजनेस particularly.
Sure. So Harshil, like I said, right, we were already in the business of edtech. We were online. I think in our case, because we deal with younger kids, right, there was a sense of not accepting some of the digital solutions because there was too much screen time, etc. But what COVID did was kind of make people realize that it's not always possible to be in a physical center, right? And that there is a need for a digital solution, sometimes in a mixed model, right? It could be physical and digital, but at least the acceptance quickly came, right? The acceleration happened right after that, but I think the first thing that happened was there was an acceptance that, you know, we need a digital solution at times because there could be another pandemic like COVID that could come in the near future. And then do you really want to lose the amount of education that the children lost these last 2 years, right? Because we're still struggling to figure out how we're going to cover up the gap with school-going children that got created over the last 2 years. So I think the acceptance was much bigger than the acceleration, right? Acceleration definitely happened, but the acceptance of a solution that goes online and uses online methods to teach was really the big change for us.
That's heartening, and I think it's really good. Also, the key point that you speak about acceptance versus acceleration. I want to move to Pushpam. So, Pushpam, in your business, it's a very different business from EdTech. So, would love to get a perspective from you as well in terms of through the COVID pandemic. What are some of the big, learnings that you have seen, and what are some of the consumer behavior changes that you have seen?
Having a pharma company in this pandemic was really beneficial for us. As from the perspective of being a human being, it was not good. But as a businessman, we have a very good opportunity. Like we have introduced our several products. So overall, it was a profitable time. And when it comes about the consumer behavior, yes, it has changed a lot. Earlier, people used to buy products directly from the retailer. At that point of time, they don't used to research a lot. Whatever the prescription doctor used to give them, they used to buy it. Or but later on, when people are getting digitalized, they have they are trying to search. They do research from their own self, and they buy product where they apply their researches.
I think you have put it very rightly that COVID was of paramount importance. I think it had impacted all the businesses in India since 2020, and I think our business, if we talk about my business, is basically we're into training and skilling. So if we talk about skilling and training, initially the model was instructor-led model, which we followed. But due to COVID, there was a huge impact in the movement of people from one place to another, and there are very less physical interactions between teachers and students at the center level. So what we found out was like the sales had gone down, and the impact of traditional marketing channels were not happening. So basically, we used to use print media and the local level mobilizations for marketing, but due to COVID, people were not able to move out of their places and were not able to come to the centers for counseling. So what we learned was like instead of using traditional channels, digital marketing was of great importance, and I think the different tools like WhatsApp marketing, Facebook ads, influencer marketing, and all those kind of things. And we also used to have SEOs done on Google ad and all those platforms. So I think that's how we actually navigated those challenges and were able to make sure that our messaging was correct and was reaching the right customer segment. So this was one of the learnings. And second was, I think people were increasing their digital spends. They were aware of different courses. Our brand is a big brand, so they had a top of the mind recall. But then when they received the messages through digital channels, I think the Gen X and the Gen Z students were pretty much comfortable, and I think they were inquiring about the courses or through online channels, and we were able to actually take that share of inquiries and convert them into admissions. So I think digital marketing is very important going forward. I think every company has to do it. I think there has to be a correct mix and match of both traditional marketing and also digital marketing, and that will help, I think, in any kind of situation, I think. So I think to be future proof, you have to actually blend both kind of marketing.
So I think those are some great segues into my next question, which I will direct, Ruchita, to you. You're hearing all of this, and maybe you can give us a point of view which encompasses all of this in terms of consumer behavior. So we've already kind of seen some of it, but maybe you could add a bit more to that, as we take it into a more operational segment next.
Yeah, Harshil, absolutely. In fact, it was quite heartening to hear, everyone speak about how they experienced it as a business owner. We are actually seeing similar trends. We've seen it in the last 2 years, but we're also seeing some of the online adoption and the trends to sustain. So, I'll just talk about maybe two big trends that we are seeing. So while a lot of consumers in India adopted the online journey because of necessity during COVID, we are seeing actually that necessity contribute to a change in habit and a change in behavior, where some of these behaviors are sustaining. So, almost 65% of the people are choosing to go online to purchase a product which they earlier chose, to purchase in an offline mode. And that's the sustainability of the online comfort, if I can call it, that is continuing here. And obviously there are multiple factors that are driving, so availability is one. The fact that they find it much more cost efficient and time efficient to go online rather than go offline. The multitude and diversity of product solutions that are available, I think that's also something that's drawing consumers online, because they find that the options that they are able to find online is a lot more easier to navigate through before they get to a purchase decision. So those are some of those very interesting trends that we're seeing even as the offline mobility is opening up, and that's a very heartening trend. The second trend that we are seeing is really the digital consumption per se. And when I say digital consumption, I mean I talk about the digital content. For example, YouTube in itself has become one of the largest media channels or media consumption channels in India today, where almost more than 60-65 minutes are spent on YouTube every day by Indians. And with the internet penetration being at 48%, that's a huge segment of consumers that are now available and who are consuming content in a personalized screen. And a lot of this consumption that we're seeing is on the mobile. We are seeing this in vernacular language, and I think that digital consumption is also translating into what Ashish was saying in terms of the adoption of edtech. Right, the number of app downloads has been one of the largest in India. Even when Parimal ji spoke about ICS, when he launched the app and people were quick to embrace it, and now he's kind of working on an omni-channel experience for his customers. I think those are things that we're seeing in education as a category. We are also seeing it in other categories which are predominantly offline, like jewelry, for example. So we have a lot of examples from Carrot Lane or Kalyan Jewelers, earlier, where they used to focus on local campaigns with us, to drive in-store traffic. But now most of these brands have created a hybrid consumer journey, where it is segueing very conveniently between offline and online. And, also in terms of pharma, we've seen a lot of pharma or CPG, if I can call it that. We've also seen a proliferation of a lot of D2C brands. So clearly a lot of new brands have come into the market and disrupted. And all of this is really happening because the consumers are embracing it. Consumers are very open to digital choices, very open to consuming, taking decisions online. And therefore, this is really been a once in a lifetime moment, if I can call it that, when it comes to the digital adoption and, the digital education that's become proliferated. So that's what we're seeing as well.
Amazing. So thanks for those insights. I just want to ask, maybe just get a sense from the rest of the panel also. This one theme that I'm hearing from you, Ruchita, is that this change is here to stay. So I just want to open this up to the panel. In your businesses, is it showing that this change in adoption is here to stay? And is there something specific that you'd like to point out about that? The behavior was first like this. COVID changed the force of the behavior, and this behavior is here to stay. Is there something that any of you would like to comment on with respect to that per se?
Behavior of customers have really changed. I think initially, the penetration of internet and smartphones were not there, but now, due to the instant, messaging systems and all kinds of e-commerce websites in the world, I think, and also the penetration of smartphones into Indian homes. I think people are more now, interested in real-time responses from businesses. So I think they treat any kind of communication, like be it with friends or their co-partners or maybe the businesses. So they need real-time responses. I think that has been a tectonic shift which we have seen. I think we have gone far beyond cookies now. The world of cookies have shrunk. So I think the next big wave would be, to create, short videos. Storytelling is an important part of it. I think you need to create content which is specifically designed for your customer segments. And I think that's how we can, connect with them. And as a company, we are investing into, content marketing. We are investing into digital tech for the next generation of marketing. I think that's how I think the world will shape up.
जैसे पहले जो है जब कोविड टाइम नहीं था तो हम लोग जो है टीच करते थे, स्टूडेंट्स हमारे पास आते थे, पढ़ते थे, तो वो अगले दिन आकर के जो है हमेशा पूछते थे, सर ये 5th क्वेश्चन नहीं आया, 10th नहीं आया, हम भूल गए या ऐसा हो गया। लेकिन अब जो है क्या हो गया है, जब से ये ऐप है तो हमने कंपलसरी कर दिया सभी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, जो स्टूडेंट्स हमारे पास पढ़ने आते हैं तो ऐप सबके पास है, तो वो घर जाते हैं, कोई भी क्वेश्चन उनका अटक जाता है तो उनके जो है 2-4 हज़ार रुपए लगते हैं, लेकिन 2-4 हज़ार रुपए में हमारे सभी टीचर्स उनके पास रहते हैं 24 घंटे। जब उसका मन करता है उसको ओपन करते हैं, ओपन करने के बाद उसको जो है देखते हैं, क्वेश्चन को, अपनी क्वेरी को दूर करते हैं। तो अब जो है जैसे क्लास में आकर के बच्चों का जो डाउट पूछने का जो टाइम था वो टाइम टोटली बचने लग गया। अब किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन है, किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन है, उस टाइम पर जो डाउट क्लियरिंग सेशन थे वो टोटली टाइम वेस्टेज थे, अब वो टाइम टोटली सेव होने लग गया। अब जो है इसके साथ जो है हम लोगों ने क्या किया कि ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करवा दिए बुक्स के लिए, तो बुक्स जो है ऑनलाइन जो है लोग ले लेते हैं। पहले उनको दुकान पर जाना पड़ता था, वहां पर जाकर के उनको मिल रही है नहीं मिल रही है, तो ऑनलाइन में तो हमेशा ही अवेलेबिलिटी रहती है, तो ऑनलाइन बुक्स हैं, ऑनलाइन जो है अब ऐप है, क्लासेस हैं, तो ये जो है परमानेंट रहेगा, ये ऐसा नहीं कि ये वापस जाएगा।
क्या आपके पास आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कुछ स्पेसिफिक सक्सेसेस है जो आप शेयर कर सकते हैं और व्यूअर्स के साथ कि आपने ये स्पेसिफिक किया और ग्रोथ मतलब शुरू हुआ या एक्सेलरेट हुआ?
We got some more customers जिसको हम लोग पहले टच नहीं कर पा रहे थे. Like we earlier we used to have our marketing players, marketing team. They have some limitation, but this internet thing, digital marketing thing doesn't have any limitation. Okay, we can specifically, suppose if I have a product which I want to market to a particular segment of people. So what digital marketing offers me is an opportunity where I can specifically market my product to the specific potential customer which are potential for me.
Ashish, to your business per se, because I know you spoke a little bit about the fact that you've seen adoption, and that kind of comfort. What about acquisition? When you speak about acquisition of customers, is there anything you changed as this consumer behavior changed? And was there some more success with something that you did?
Well, it absolutely did. I mean, COVID opened up a whole new set of avenues, right? So overall consumer behavior changed across the whole digital platforms, right? So, we talk about more YouTube usage, more TikTok usage, more, digital platform usage. Now, that obviously opens up a lot more avenues for us to reach the same customer set, right? So, yeah, I mean, digital marketing was always razor sharp, right? You could target, you had less wastage, but now we actually had even more options to go after the same set of customers. So yeah, the acquisition funnels became suddenly larger because there were more people online, they were consuming more, they were there longer, and we were able to obviously target them even during the same usage multiple times, right? So that the brand recall was coming through more often and all that good stuff, right? So overall consumer behavior changed, and that actually helped the acquisition funnel as well. I mean, the funnels were much larger during the COVID period, and the behavior hasn't changed much since, right? So if you look at even today, that number hasn't substantially dropped since things have started opening up, right? People were expecting that usage would drop, but it hasn't substantially dropped.
So that's a fantastic point, that Parimal ji makes, and I'd love to get your take on this point as well. It would be fantastic to hear from you on this.
I think instead of relating the digital spends with the consumer behavior changes, I think it was more so the other way. The consumer behavior has changed basically during COVID times and those challenging times. So accordingly, the budget and the allocations for digital marketing had to change. I think it was pretty tough during initial days to convince your CFO and your accounts team to to set apart a budget for your marketing in digital domain. So I think those were the challenges initially we faced, but I think it was pretty much a kind of thing which triggered right from the behavioral changes that we saw, and that's how it triggered the spending from a company's perspective.
और परिमल जी, आपने एक बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट, मतलब आपने जो पॉइंट कहा था कि हमारा ब्रांड डिजिटल के जरिए इट स्टार्टेड टू गेट मोर वेल नोन. So that was one thing that you spoke about. और जैसे content आपने बना दिया और millions of views आने लगे, तो can you share some of those secrets in terms of how you have grown your brand? It would be interesting to understand.
एक्चुअली जो है हम लोग जो है स्टार्टिंग से बात करें तो स्टार्टिंग में हम लोग जो है न्यूज़पेपर ऐड हम देते थे, उसके बाद हम जो है टीवी प्लेटफॉर्म्स को यूज करते थे. फिर अब जो है जैसे कोविड टाइम था तो व्हाट्सएप के जरिए, फेसबुक के जरिए, यूट्यूब के जरिए हम लोगों ने जो है ज्यादा रीच बनाई. जो स्टूडेंट्स थे, जो पढ़ने वाले थे, तो इन प्लेटफॉर्म्स के जरिए जो है यूज हुआ और वो वीडियोस वायरल हुई. कई वीडियो तो ऐसी थी कि जो एक ही दिन में जो है वो कई मिलियंस तक पहुंच गई और बहुत सारे चैनल्स ने उसको हमारे से हटा करके जो अपने पास भी जो है उनको यूज किया, लगा दिया. तो उससे जो है जर्नल पब्लिक तक भी जो है रीचेबिलिटी पहुंच गई.
It's a great point. I think one point I also want to put in here, because आपने टीवी का point कहा. In 2023 we are expecting कि digital AdX is going to be more than TV. और आपने एक point आपने कहा कि पहले आप प्रिंट करते थे, फिर आप टीवी पे गए, अभी आप डिजिटल पे ही फोकस करते हो. आई थिंक just want to bring this back also to Ruchita for you, which is that some of the things that you're hearing here, you are hearing hyper customization, you're hearing the ability to mix paid plus earned, where you pay some but you also get viral and you get to become well known as a brand as a result of that. You're driving on one hand with Ashish, you're hearing more about more precision and really sharpening the funnel just because there's more kind of demand inside that funnel. So and what else are we missing out on? Because this is one viewpoint that we've got. So I'm sure there's a lot more that you see at your level, with the millions of businesses that advertise on Google. So if you could share some of that also, it would be great.
So there are two trends that are happening. One, I think the leveraging of marketing mix and multiple channels to reach to the consumer is, I think, one trend. And clearly there are enough studies that are out there which are proving that leveraging marketing mix and optimizing for that marketing mix gets you higher results than just being very narrow in approaching a part of the funnel. The full funnel has to be solved for and planned very effectively. The other very interesting thing that you were talking about is the sharp targeting versus the broader targeting. And I think that's really where I would like to bring in the concept of consumer journeys, the path from discovery to purchase. Now, earlier, and this happens to us quite a lot in a lot of conversations when we go to advertisers, they're obviously wanting to drive sales through their advertising spend. And the traditional understanding has been that the consumer path to purchase is linear. And that has completely been turned on its head in the last 2 years, because what's happening is that what may start off as a path of exploration, which is when a customer is coming, let's say, on search with us and trying to find, let's say, the best education platform for their child, or they're trying to find the best coaching institute for getting a government to get to a government job, or let's say in the case of Growmed, trying to find a particular product. What we're seeing is, earlier when a journey used to start with a path of exploration or a phase of exploration, it would linearly go to a phase of consideration or phase of evaluation, as we used to call it. And historically that could have meant it naturally lends itself to purchase, but that's not happening any longer. What's happening now is that customers are starting out of with a path to discovery, path of exploration through search. And in fact, interestingly, we also see an 80% overlap with YouTube search. So a lot of people are searching on the text or voice-based search on the search bar that's there, but we're also seeing that search query have an 80% overlap with YouTube search. And then, as they go down into, evaluating, comparing what is competition, what are the competitive products that are available, sometimes they reach a point where they go back to the phase of exploration. And I think that's really where, both what Ashish was saying and what Parimalji was saying, makes sense, that, you will get very different consumer journeys, and most consumer journeys are no longer linear. So you may have an ability to influence a consumer at the start of the funnel, or sometimes even post funnel, and the word of mouth and the review that the customer leaves could influence other customers, and you have to pay attention to each part of the consumer journey, and kind of look at balancing out between organic virality as well as draw effective consumers and high value customers through paid marketing. So that's really the balance, that the choice between organic growth may not let you find the right valuable customer, but paid marketing will get you to be very sharp and very focused and get you a high value customer.
So what would your advice be to somebody who's at the start of the journey? And maybe I can get short 2 lines from each one of you on the advice that you would give to fellow businessmen on the journey, on how they can make the most of it. So maybe Ashish, if I can start with you, if somebody's at the start of their journey and they're hearing all this, they're getting some viewpoint, but what would your mindset advice be?
I mean, being in the digital space for a good 20 plus years, what I would recommend is they look at a smaller subset of what they're going after, right? And then they do produce content and other things for each part of the journey. I think it's important today that you are you're hitting those different touch points, right? I don't think it's enough to say that let's use one touch point and we'll do many campaigns around that touch point. I think it's more better for somebody new to actually create different types of content, different types can reach out for these touch points, even if it's a small concentration or a small target that they go after. So anyway, my recommendation is choose a small target, but touch all the touch points.
Parimalji, from your end, any advice to somebody who's on the start of their journey?
जिसको जर्नी स्टार्ट करनी है उसको एक्सपर्ट एडवाइस तो ले लेनी चाहिए, और जो है जिसे तो जो है विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम एवरीबडी मे बी गोइंग जो है एक्सपर्ट, वो हर एक आदमी धीरे 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 जो टाइम होता है ना तो उसके साथ एक्सपर्ट होता है। स्टार्टिंग में जिसको स्टार्ट करना जर्नी तो किसी एक्सपर्ट की एडवाइस ले ले, वो ज्यादा बेटर है।
What exactly they want, what they expect from digital marketing thing, they have to be very razor sharp, and as Parimal sir said that they should definitely get advice from some expert. I think they should definitely have a very good agency where they can make some eye-catchy and highly noticeable presentation of their product, whatever they're trying to market it. So I think a very clear vision of their expectation and what exactly they want from people on this digital marketing thing, and some good agency which can fulfill their expectation. I think these are the points which I want to mention.
We will see more of transparency between companies and businesses and their customers. I think the kind of data we collect is important. You have to be very transparent with your customers, that what kind of data you are collecting from them. The cookie era has actually will end by 2025. I think you need to have opt-in and opt-out options while you are tracking your customers. I think a customer journey has to be tracked. It has to be analyzed in each and every touch point that you have, but then again that has to be done in a very transparent manner. The permissions you are taking via your app or maybe your browser extensions or cookies, that has to be very 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 transparent. I think then only there will be a trust factor, which is important. I think in any kind of digital marketing with growing concerns of privacy and third party cookies that are being used, live shopping that is happening through through Insta Reels and through Facebook, those small videos that you play, and there is a live shopping that happens. So I think those kind of things will really take the center stage, and digital being the growth driver that it has been till now, I think will help. I think this all the businesses in this way. So I think these two tectonic shifts we will see in coming future. And I think we also are actually investing into AI because predicting your customer is very important. I think every company is doing it in their own way. So as I said, there is a customer journey right from the time you acquire your customer to the time that he actually leaves your product, or maybe he is out of your service timeline. I think there has to be adequate amount of information that you have, and you can should be able to predict what your customer needs. So I think uh, AI will play a big role. I think AI investments are pretty much in everywhere. I think your customer care, your even the after sales support team, they need AI to actually understand and predict what your consumer behavior will be.
Ashish, I'd like you to, weigh in here. What is some of your advice with respect to really diving into understanding ROI, and how do you guys do it? And how do you ensure that you continually keep investing in the medium that it is giving you ROI? So maybe to get a first viewpoint from you.
I mean, one thing to keep in mind is you talk about 2 points, and we got to keep them separate, right? You do not mix your brand building or your awareness with the direct ROI calculation, because that's impossible to calculate, right? Over time, we do have ways to look that the awareness campaigns, are they lowering our cost of acquisition on the other campaigns that we're running, right? Because if with the cost of acquisition on the other campaigns are not only optimizing because of what we're doing there, but because of the other brand building, then we can kind of link the two. But anyway, going back to the point.
No, sorry to interrupt. That's a great hack, actually, for the viewers. That's a fantastic hack, because I think you raise a very, very interesting point, which is that most of the time when you're doing awareness based advertising, it's like you said, it's impossible to quantify, and then therefore, if you see the impact of awareness on acquisition going down, that's really the true value of your the ability for you to attract customers. So I think just sorry, I didn't want to interrupt there, but it's a fantastic point that you make. So I think for the viewer, it's a good one to take home. The investment in the right assets for your brand, whether it be the right kind of brand website landing destination, or having deep content on your website, so that when the consumer's coming to search, they have actually all the FAQs available, or ad inventory of all nature, whether it is a pre-roll ad, or whether it's a display ad, or whether it's also long form content on YouTube, which is informational. So therefore, this journey that you talk about, I'm just trying to unpack that a little bit also for the viewers. And before we move on to the next question, I also you mentioned some of these case studies, so I'd love to understand if there is a resource that the viewers can go on to. What should they be googling if they want to look at some of these resources, if they want to look at some of these case studies that you are talking about? Because I'm sure we've got some fantastic case studies on this panel, but apart from that, what else can I look at, and what's a website I can go to, or what can I Google?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Harshil. I don't think we've made that case study available. I mean, these are all externally shareable case studies, but we've not necessarily, put them out there for public consumption. It is something that we make available to, advertisers when we work with them. And that's actually the work my team specifically does. When we work with companies, that are represented here on the panel today, we are able to surface those examples and case studies with the results, with the exact campaign that was put in place, the exact marketing plan that was put in place, and the impact. But we haven't made it available, to the larger public as yet. So maybe that's an input and a feedback that I can take back and work on.
The question that I have, Pushpam, for you is, we've kind of now heard a lot of these different opinions, and I'm sure that a lot of people are talking about using digital as an e-com channel, and that is something that that is well established, digital as an e-com channel. But would you, in your experience and in your experience as a marketer as well as a business owner, would you use digital to build your brand also, or would you only use it for e-com? What's your viewpoint on that?
According to us, we would love to make our product a brand by using digital marketing, because the ROI which we were talking about earlier is quite less. Like on print media, on TV media, we have to invest a lot of amount, but when it comes about digital marketing, it's quite cheaper, and we can definitely use this platform to build our product, to make our product a brand. So Along with that, e-com is also an option, which we are onto, and we can do both of the things simultaneously.
तो इस प्रकार की जो इमोशनल एड्स होती हैं या कुछ इस प्रकार का कंटेंट होता है वो ज्यादा वायरल होता है, तो उन चीजों को ध्यान में रख के हम लोगों ने जो है ये यूज किया कि सभी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए अब कुछ जो कोई सक्सेस स्टोरीज उसके ऊपर थी या कुछ और जो है जो उनके लिए जो है एक लाइट जो है था भाई उनको रास्ता दिखाने वाला था, तो उसने जो है हेल्प बहुत ज्यादा की। और मैं तो ये कहूंगा सभी लोगों को कि भाई जो चीज यूज कर रहे हैं प्रोडक्ट है तो उसके यूज करने से पहले और यूज करने के बाद में क्या डिफरेंस है, ये अगर इस प्रकार से आप डिस्टिंग्विश करेंगे तो ज्यादा बढ़िया रहेगा।
And finally, closing comments from you. It would be great to hear from you as well on the last final words that you have at the end of this particular panel.
I think the biggest challenge was, convincing our own team, about the advantages of various digital channels, the various tools that we had in place, because everybody is not, digitally savvy, and you need to make your team. There has to be a lot of change management that goes in. I think which helped us, actually make them understand that what each and every tool that we're investing in will, give us in return, and what kind of data points we will be having. So that was one of the challenges, and I think the second one is the lack of information. Like, at times it happens, you are not actually aware of different latest developments in the market, the latest the survey reports and the market research reports that are not available easily. So our team had to actually crunch through different platforms. We had done some surveys, we had taken some Gartner reports, so as to make a informed decision on what platform to use and what kind of investments we need. So I think these were the challenges initially. The biggest challenge was people were working from home. So during COVID times, it was really challenging to get your things done at a right pace. So we actually we sorted out those things, those and made sure that those systems are in place and we have the right data at the right point at the right time.
And Ashish, maybe over to you on this.
Sure.
Any final words of advice?
So a couple of points. One, yeah, I know we talk about digital being a great platform. I think just one, understanding where your customer is very important, right? If you know they're on digital, then yes, your ROIs are going to be super high. Now, if your customer is not on digital and you're targeting, well, your ROI is not going to. So knowing where your customer is also important. With various digital channels, it's also key to know where they are, right? Are they on YouTube or are they on another channel? Because it's not that everybody will be on every channel. And then lastly, making sure that you test, right? Because, this whole thing about spending a whole bunch of money on a campaign doesn't really work until you can see the figures, you can see the conversion rates, etc. So knowing how do you want to test, right? So do you run enough campaigns? Do you do enough A/B tests to ensure that you know which one is driving the best ROI for you on digital, right? So digital is all about data, right? It's how much data can you see, how much data can you use to make that decision on your next campaign, etc. So one, know where your customer is, and second, use the data you get to make the right decisions as you move forward.
Ruchita, I'm going to leave this, last question with you. We've heard all these stumbling blocks, we've heard the cases, we've heard the successes, and you've spoken a little bit about, the work that your team does. So how does your team at Google help advertisers get started with a digital marketing strategy and address some of these challenges? So for the viewers listening, how can they reach out to your team and how can they make the most of this?
Yeah. So, to address what Pushpam was saying in terms of having somebody who's trustworthy, and Parimalji was saying that, have an expert with you. So my team really does step in to exactly solve those two issues. We are aware that there could be a propensity for, either because it's a new journey that you need more hand holding, your teams and your business needs more hand holding. So that's really where my team comes in. We are a team of digital marketing experts. We can work with your organization. तो परिमल जी आपकी organization के साथ, पुष्पम आपके organization के साथ हमारी team काम कर सकती है. We can understand आपके क्या business requirements हैं, आपका existing marketing plan क्या है. We will be an unbiased advisor to you. and a consultant to you. We will not only help you build the plan, but we will also help you execute on it. So we do give this bespoke support for the first 6 months. So I think that's really where we do. To the point that Ashish was making, I think he was completely bang on. It's very important for every business to define what does good look like for you. Who is that customer that you want to be getting on board, and what does success look like for you? Because if you define that well for us, then as a team of experts, we will work with that objective in mind, and we will deliver. We will endeavor to deliver against that. So I think it's very important कि आप का विजन क्लियर हो, आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्लियर हो कि आप क्या सॉल्व करना चाहते हैं, and what does success look like. The third thing that I would say is, as one of the stumbling blocks that we experience when we're working with businesses is that एक थोड़ा डिजिटल के साथ एक्सपेक्टेशन थोड़ा हाई हो जाता है कि हमने आज स्पेंड किया है तो हमें आज ही रिजल्ट्स चाहिए, राइट? बट डिजिटल मच लाइक एनी अदर मीडिया, वेदर आप प्रिंट आपने जब शुरू करा होगा कुछ साल पहले जब आपका बिजनेस स्टार्ट हुआ था, या टीवी स्टार्ट किया होगा, या आउट ऑफ होम स्टार्ट किया होगा, आपने जैसे भी जो भी चैनल स्टार्ट किया, इट टेक्स some bit of commitment and some bit of investment of time to stay with it. And the A/B testing is a very, very strong route to first make sure that a particular campaign and a particular strategy is working for you, and then only invest further. So what we normally request for business owners is to give us the investment of time, less the money but more the investment of time, because digital also is a it's an artificial intelligence machine learning solution. So it needs a little bit of time and patience to start delivering results. And when we talk of time, it's not a very large time, but we typically ask for about 3 to 4 weeks कि आप वो engine को समझने दीजिए, let it identify the most valuable customer for you, let us learn and show you that early results, and then we kind of dip our feet deeper, and then we go full hog. And then I'm very, very positive we have multiple examples of where results have been very, very strong. So that then we are very positive as a team that we'll be able to make that happen for you.
So I think what we've learned from this particular session is that one thing is very clear is that digital marketing it's the present, it's not the future, and all of you seem to be really, really echoing that. I think some very, very interesting insights have come in from both Pushpam and Parimal ji, that it is no longer just an urban phenomenon, and it is not just a tier 1 phenomenon, it is a tier 2 as well as a rural phenomenon. So that's something that we are seeing. I think Parimal ji gave that really interesting example of how it is carried forward. Content that he's creating is carried forward across everywhere. I think some very interesting points, Ruchita, that you spoke about resounding numbers, that 450 million people are now consuming YouTube. That's huge. That means it's beyond the largest TV channel, possibly beyond the largest TV network in in India. And they're consuming more than 60 minutes per day. So get started with a video strategy today is what I would take out of that. I think all of you have spoken that consumer is always on. Pushpam, you spoke about the fact that there is no real sequential journey. I can just go straight in and I can just go and straight start searching. And then really understanding, Ashish, you raised some very, very interesting points about testing. You raised some really, I think you're basically talking about saying that do small experiments, fail fast and get perfect, and really know your customer. So I want to thank you all for all of you who've given such fantastic points for the viewer to think about, for your perspective as well as your growth journey. So thank you so much for this panel, and wish you all the very best on your digital journey as it goes further, and looking forward to hear more and more success from your companies. Thank you so much.